very strange and terrifying red sign, which was taken as an omen of doom, etched in Japan's sky 1,400 years ago, about 600 AD. And scientists are finally explaining this. A bright scarlet fan-like shape that spilled across the skies over Japan 1,400 years ago. It was striking fear into people's hearts and presented astronomers with a puzzle that they could not explain. They were at a loss. The new study succeeded in solving that mystery. It was recorded in the Chronicles of Japan, the Nihon Shoki, and has puzzled astronomers since that phenomenon appeared and was first observed. According to records in the second oldest book of classical Japanese history, on 30th of December, the year 620 AD, a red sign whose shape resembled a pheasant's tail spread across the sky, and it triggered fear in those who saw this. Of course, they witnessed it, since such a vision had been typically recognized as a sign of a bad omen in Japanese literature. Ever since those ancient times, the phenomenon had remained largely a mystery, with astronomers studying witness accounts written at the time and speculating how they could explain such a cosmic astronomical event. Ryoho Katakoa, a researcher in the Department of Polar Science in the School of Multidisciplinary Science at the Graduate University of Advanced Studies in the National Institute of Polar Research in Japan, Polar Research, together with a team of colleagues, decided to probe this, to investigate it, see how they could explain this red sky phenomenon. And the results were this. They entitled it, Consideration of the Shape of the Red Sign in the Nihon Shoki, published 31st of March in the Shokendal Review of Culture and Social Studies, and it offered a solution to this puzzle and this conundrum. Ryoho Kataoka said, "It is the oldest Japanese astronomical record of a red sign. While many modern scientists looking back at the report suggest the vision may have been caused by an aurora or even a comet, none of the explanations seem to be viable." And Kataoka said it could be a red aurora produced during magnetic storms. However, convincing reasons have not been provided, although the description has been very famous among Japanese people for a long time, he said. And he explained why the aurora hypothesis had been rejected initially. According to him, well, of course, auroras are not that uncommon in Japan, especially in the north, okay, because it's basically quite close to Kamchatka, which is basically not far from the Arctic anyway. The researcher explained that why the aurora hypothesis has not been rejected initially, had been rejected. First of all, the auroras are not that uncommon if you're living up there. So according to him, the fascinating red light show caused by collisions of electrically charged particles released from the sun entering the Earth's atmosphere, that is, of course, solar flare of some kind, okay, aurora borealis, northern lights, and gases such as oxygen and nitrogen do not look like pheasants' tails. Instead, they tend to be ribbonesque, waving across the sky. Another suggested explanation was a comet. However, this was dismissed by the team as unlikely, since an event involving a comet would not usually be tinged red. It would be white or blue, or the one that's coming up to us by the end of May, the one that was around 4000 BC at the time of building you'll see the video before this one. And that has cyanide in it. That's why the tail is going to be green. It's going to be a double tail of cyanide, green, and also a dust tail. So it'll have a double tail. So, yeah, and I've seen the aurora borealis, northern lights. It's like a shimmering sheet of colors above your head. It's not a pheasant's tail. So the team carefully studied surviving historical descriptions of that event 1,400 years ago. They compared them with auroras, which are typically seen around the magnetic poles of the north and the south hemispheres and are predominantly green. And the phenomenon has been known to appear in other hues, such as red, depending on which elements of the Earth's atmosphere are being activated by the charged particles released by the sun. So the team tracked down more studies of auroras seen over Japan in a fan shape with a red background. The process of the research, Kataoka and his team had to adjust their view as the magnetic latitude of Japan was 33 degrees in 620 compared to the current 25 degrees. There we go. Okay, so you know what? In 1,400 years, Japan's magnetic latitude has changed 8 degrees. That's amazing. That is amazing. It was in a different location, geographically. Amazing. According to the so-called pheasant tail, appeared to be about 10 degrees long. And this, according to the study, placed it within the area that would be affected by a strong magnetic storm. Kataoka said recent findings show that auroras can be pheasant tail shapes, specifically during great magnetic storms. This means that in 620 AD, the phenomenon was likely an aurora. So inspired by this solution of a mystery dating back to antiquity, the team acknowledged they plan to continue examining ancient literature references for modern scientific relevance. This is amazing. I mean, the fact that Japan in 1,400 years has changed 8 degrees latitude. That's just amazing. I mean, it shows you how fast our Earth is changing in 1,000 years, for example. Amazing. So he says this is an interesting and successful example that modern science can benefit from the ancient Japanese emotion evoked when the surprising appearance of heaven reminded them of a familiar bird, he said. Okay, so they're at 25 degrees today. That's where around here, that's where the Japanese island starts. Actually, it's from 25 up to where? Up to somewhere around here, 47, because it's pretty long. All that is, that's Russia. After that, Kamchatka Islands. So it's up to at least the northern island over here. Okay, so that's where it's starting basically today, around 25, he said. But at that time, 1,400 years, this is astonishing. I can't believe in 1,400 years how Japan has moved. It was at 34. Those islands were up here. 34, around here. Can you imagine? Okay, let's see. How many miles is that? Miles is about 818 miles. 818 miles. It moved 818 miles in 1,400 years. Let's say that's about 2 miles a year. Am I right? Double that. That would be 1,600 some odd. Okay, let's say just roughly about 2 miles a year. Moving north, moving south, that is, south 2 miles a year. That shows you the amount of activity. That's frightening. I'm sorry, you guys, but that's really frightening. Only 1,400 years ago, Japan was up here somewhere, and then up to here. Can you imagine how much this area has grown in 1,400 years? That's just amazing. I never even, you learn something every day. And so, of course, they would have seen, if those islands were up here, that means that this main area, the main islands of Japan, would have been up where Kamchatka is today. You know, much closer to the Arctic. Of course, that would have been a strong solar storm. So that's what they showed us. The astronomers basically showed us the tremendous amount of movement that's taken place. This is mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Okay, so I'll leave links below for you for this. Thank you. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.